Okay, thank you so much. أعتذر منكم بس حيكون اللقاء بالإنجليزي. So I'd like to introduce my guest speakers into this panel discussions. I wanted to start with Mr. Mohammed Al Bassam, Division Managers as Incentives and Financing Solution at the SIDF. Mr. Mohammed, stage, yes, please. And the next one I would like to introduce Mr. Engineer Yusuf Al Majnouni, General Managers Advanced Manufacturing and Innovations at the Ministry of Industry and Mineral Resources. And the next one is I would like to introduce Mr. Sohaib Al-Amish, General Manager Investment Incentives at the Ministry of Industry and Mineral Resources. So Sohaib, my last panelist, Mr. Fahad Al-Almir, at the National Industrial Development Centers, the Directors of Business Development in Organic Chemistry. Okay, excellent. So, working great. Without any further delay, we just heard a beautiful talk from Engineer Ahmed Zawawi, and he gave a very high level of the capabilities that we have in the ministry. With this panelist, I would say probably one of the most important panelists in the day-to-day that will explain to any investors or anyone who wants to come into the kingdom, understand what are the capabilities available in the ecosystems. What we have today, you have all the capabilities of the ministry. Obviously, we have the ministry, we have the advanced manufacturing, we have the incentives, we have the National Industrial Development Center as well, Mr. Fahad. And of course, one of the most important things as well is the Saudi Industrial Development Fund. Without any further delay, I'm just going to go around here without any particular order. I'd like to ask Engineer Yusuf, I'd like to start with you if you don't mind. We all know the importance of SMEs, and we need to understand what does end-to-end transformations journey looks for today for any SMEs, and how can we actually, how does initiatives such as future factory programs that can help these SMEs to progress?
Bismillah, salatu salam ala rasulillah.
Allahumma.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak among these esteemed guests and panelists. So let me start thinking about the journey. Now it's all about the journey and how we can help the factory really adopt without looking at the programs that we are having and the enablers that we are having at the ministry. So talking about this, we believe that the journey is connected into three different phases. First is the engagement, where we are engaging with the factory, promoting the advanced manufacturing technologies and use cases. And from there, we do multiple workshops, trying to give them some information about the technologies, the use cases, and onboard them in the Sinai platform. And this is I would say, the first phase. The second one, which is really important, you need to understand where you are in order to build where you want to be. So we call this assessment and prioritization. In the assessment stage, we mainly focus on first the factory to understand based on his own awareness about himself. We call it the self-assessment phase. And the self-assessment phase, the factory answers a list of questions, and from there, he understands where he is, what kind of question he should ask himself and the team around him. And once he finishes this, we try to do it with the qualified, certified consultants that does the actual assessment, which is normally takes 3 to 5 days of full engagement from the executive level to the shop alert tier.
You're referring to Siri?
Yeah. The really assessment for the time being, and we are developing something at a national level as well in these days. Yeah. I don't want to take much more time, so I'll go over it quickly. Once he understands with the certified assessor where he is, he then define what is important to him, what are the KPIs that he wants to achieve, and from there he understands his priority. Once he understands his priority, he understands what kind of transformation journey he want to execute. Then it moved to the segregation and the execution. In the segregation execution, we try to connect the factory with the right program internally, and with SIDF team, we have a basic digitization initiative where we give grants up to 300,000 for the basic digitization. And if the project is capital intensive, we award it to the مسرع التنافسية program, the تنافسية program. So this is how we look at the journey overall. Sorry, but
No, amazing. Thank you, Engineer Yusuf. We all know that SMEs are paycheck to paycheck, so it's extremely important for them to pinpoint the problem and understand how they exactly can develop automations. And what Engineer Yusuf spoke about, the standardized industry readiness index, is a scale of 1 to 5. It will give the factory understanding where they are in terms of automations. Great. Thank you so much, Engineer Yusuf. So I just wanted to move to Engineer Sohaib. If you don't mind, wanted to understand as being in the incentives, can you give us an overview of these incentives, industrial incentives that are available to SMEs or any investors who wants to come into the kingdom?
Thank you. Sami, supposed to.
I think you need to mic, please, here. Can you check?
Okay, thank you, Sami.
still not moving. Can you? Yes.
Right. Maybe this is fine as well. But thank you, Sami and Berestam for.
You know what? Just use
I think it's fine now. Right. Thank you, Sami, and Assalamu alaikum jami'an. Honestly, I'm very happy to be here to share this important panel, to shed some lights on what we have within the government ecosystems. Now, when we talk about incentives, probably one of the main thing that I would like to highlight is we don't have one incentives program. We have multiple of them. We look at the whole portfolio of every investor that we have within the kingdom. And of course, we look at the whole journey across the life cycle, of course, of the investor journey. In this program, in this, of course, analysis, we come up with program that suits each one of them. For example, and I'll shed some light on an important program that we're working with our colleague in SIDF, which is the Promising Factory Initiatives. It's an initiative that is aimed to really support entrepreneurs who would like to establish their manufacturing facilities but don't have the financial capability to do so. And this program, of course, offers multiple things, such as 50% of the total cost is being given. It gives you a 20% almost of the loan amount dispersed initially at the beginning of the project, and it gives you a payment term up to 10 years. So it's an important program that we launched specifically for SME because we know they have an idea, we know the project is viable, but you have an issue when it comes to financing. So this is the soft loan, of course, program. This program has a budget of almost 1 billion, and of course we had it into two phases. The first phase, already we gave more than 100 million of a loan amount to an investment that exceeds almost 300 million. The other type of investors that we have, those who knows their product,
Yes.
who knows, of course, that they want to establish it in the kingdom, and of course it's strategic as well. So what we launched in January 2025, the Standard Incentives Program,
Amazing.
which basically gives you a support up to 35% of the total investment size, which is capped at 50 million riyal. And it's targeting products that are not manufactured yet in the kingdom. And those products, what we do as well is we announce them. So we did two phases, one in January and the other one is in June. And basically it gives almost more than 145 opportunity with 10 sectors specifically. So depends on the kind of investors. There is a lot of program that can suit them. Now, this cannot work alone, of course, with the other ecosystem. You have to have enablement from the other ecosystem. When it comes to, of course, developing opportunity, you have the center that is important. You have also financing that is given within SIDF. When you have an SIP loan, of course, you can finance the remaining amount through the SIDF loans or commercial banks. And you have other ecosystem enabler, such as, of course, the infrastructure that are given by the landlord, etc. And this is mainly for projects that are new to the kingdom, and you want greenfield, yes, product that are not in the kingdom, and new investment as well. Then, of course, the ministry itself has a lot of enablement that targets other type of investor, which are the existing factory.
Exactly.
And of course, Engineer Yusuf here, يعني لا يفتى مالكم في المدينة, when it comes to the Industry 4.0 and the enablement that is given with the Future Factory program, you have another program that is targeting the industrial competitiveness of the kingdom. Of course, that is targeting the change in price when it comes to the energy source. This gives you a lot of solutions, such as the rebate when it comes to changing the prices that are happening within the kingdom. So all in all what I wanted to share, the incentives itself cannot work alone. It has to be on cherry of a lot of enablement that we have within the kingdom, and of course we'll shed some lights on what we target.
Amazing. Yes, absolutely. So what Mr. Sohaib actually shed out on the SIP, the Standardized Incentive Program, it's already been launched, patch 1 and patch 2. Those who doesn't know, patch 3 is coming on the way. So putting reality here, or patch 1 already company received this particular incentive or on the process. And this is something, if there is an investor here in this room, please, this is an opportunity for you to catch on this, and Sohaib could be available for answering these questions after the panel. I want to go to Engineer Fahad. Engineer Fahad is, I work together in the same organization, the National Industrial Development Center. Engineer Fahad, how does NIDC help convert into investable project when we attract any investments or investors into the kingdom? How would we know that this is the right investment and connect them to the right government entity and what have you?
Thank you very much. First of all, Assalamu alaikum. It is my great pleasure to be here with my colleagues and esteemed colleagues from the government entities. I would like to thank also the organizer for hosting this great event. Maybe just before I just start in answering the question, I just want to clarify or just shed the light about the National Industrial Strategy. See, the National Industrial Strategy, when it was launched by His Royal Highness Crown Prince in October 22, they had ambitious target to achieve an investment opportunities almost 1 trillion Saudi Riyal. And they identified 12 prioritized sectors, part of the National Industrial Strategy. NIDC is a Saudi government entity, is part of the government entity within the ecosystem of the Ministry of Industry, and we are looking after 10 out of these 12 sectors. Under each of these sectors, we have dedicated team looking after prioritized segment targets. The main role of the NIDC basically is looking at coordinating and support the execution of the National Industrial Strategy, with the main focus in terms of investment attraction, business development, as well to be a technical support and reference leader for the ecosystem. Based on that, actually, we are looking after the entire investment journey. So we design our role as NIDC to support the investor from the project development, from the concept, as a matter of fact, till it's become execution to the project. So as you know, when the target by itself cannot be execution by itself. So with our role just to expedite the let's say the progress from the concept till project development. Based on that, actually, we had 5 major services designed as a mandate part of any NIDC sectors. The first service is basically the investment opportunities. So all the targets which can be shared with them will be meaningless, let's say, to share it with any potential investor unless it's an investment opportunities. So the first services were develop ready-made investment opportunities that we are sharing with a potential investor. These opportunity consist of financial, marketing, technical aspect of selected opportunities, and we are sharing for free with the potential investor. The second services is the administrative services. When you talk about administrative services, we are providing our services in terms what are the requirements to get the permit, a license to establish your facility in Saudi Arabia, even not only within the ecosystem, even outside the ecosystem within other government entities. The third service is the matchmaking. Regardless which stage are you in your project, you need the partners to work with you in your project. So this NIDC is facilitate the engagement and to find the right partners for you. Is it like a technical partner, financial partner, or even the off-taker? The fourth services is consultation and advisory. At that services, basically, we're providing the marketing insight and the review and share your previsibility study. And the last but not least, the fifth services is providing the aftercare services. Once your project execution we are to ensure your product will be sustainable and continue and to satisfy the local needs and exporting. So basically, these services in general design in a way to accommodate the investor need through the entire investor journey and in line with the project development from the concept till implementation and execution and satisfy local needs. That's
Amazing. Thank you, Engineer Fahad. So just gonna add to it, since I'm from the same organizations, we call ourselves in the NIDC, the National Industrial Development Center, as a one-stop shop for any investor. The minute they wants to come into the kingdoms, we will be the organizations to go to where we can show them, just like Engineer Fahad shared with us the services. Amazing. So most important, the money, the financing. So at what stage, Mr. Mohammed, at what stage should the investors engage with SIDF? Where do we tell the investors now you need to go to SIDF?
So, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you, Mr. Sami. So, we encourage investors to approach or engage with this IDF as soon as possible. There is no specific timeline. So, when preparing the visibility study or when doing the engineering stages, we welcome the engagement. This will help us align with the investor himself on how to prepare the financial assumptions, how to prepare the operational assumptions, and what SIDF looks for in a successful application. However, to apply for an actual loan, it usually takes a next step when the identity of the company or the factory is ready. So when the CR is issued, the preliminary industrial license is there, the full assumptions to accept a project from visibility study to a dynamic financial model is available with the investor. That's the phase where the investor can apply to SIDF portal, and we will continue our previous engagement, assign a relationship manager, and go through with the application process.
Amazing. So after going through some of the understanding, then they will come up to SIDF and do the process. And how long does it take for that application, just an average?
So it usually depends on the readiness of the application. However, SIDF tries to expedite the process as much as possible. When the information is already, we will continue engagement with the sponsor, request additional information if needed. However, our process should not take very long. As soon as you apply, there's a certain SLAs available in the portal, and we abide to that.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much. Engineer Yusuf, I'd like to go back to you and talking about now closing the gaps. We all know that some of these factories and some of the SMEs particularly might have some barriers to coming in and understanding, adopting advanced manufacturing and smart manufacturing. In how the ministry helping companies overcome these barriers?
Thank you. Now, let me wear the hat of the factory. At this point, I've been in the industry for more than 15 years at the shop floor level. So,
Sure.
the three most important barriers in that normally factories face when trying to adopt advanced technology are three. Well, let me start with the first one, which is obviously the cost. And when you're talking about the cost, you're talking about ROI and how I'm going to invest this and how much is the return on this investment. So talking about this is the dilemma that everyone faces when it comes to adopting advanced technology. In this regards, I think with a proper assessment, with a proper understanding of the priorities, the factory will know exactly, because it's not you have to do it all in once. You have to do it based on the proper sequence that suits your organization needs.
Absolutely.
So here the ministry is playing a role of that we talked about. We have several initiatives that matches with the factory's requirements. If it's a basic digitization, there is an initiative for that. If it's more capital intensive requirements or a bigger project for transformation, we take it to the SIDF, where we have the مسارعة التنافسية or the تنافسية loan program, they finance 75% of the project, and we give a grant of 25% up to a cap of 10 million, which is great for transformation projects. And we have several companies that got up to,
So what you're saying, financing is a bigger gap for
it,
these.
it is indeed.
Okay.
And the second row we're doing is to build the ecosystem that support these initiatives. I'll just give you an example. At the beginning, the part of the services used to cost X amount, it has been reduced to 10% of that specific amount. And here I'm talking specifically about the assessment. It used to cost more than 100,000. Now it's 8 to 10,000, which is, again, when you build the ecosystem, the market will correct itself. The second most important part is the capabilities and workforce development. And here we're having a weekly workshop with the factory. We're bringing the service providers, let them talk about their specific use cases and the technologies that required by the factory. And we are also having a weekly, we have the capability centers. We have one in Riyadh, second industrial city, under the management of King Abdulaziz City of Technology and Science. They can see the technology before adopting, and this is part of the development. And the second, they have a weekly training that is conducted on a weekly basis. So this also help the factory and their employees understand where they are heading when it comes to adopting the new technology. The third one and the most important one is the data readiness in the factory. You cannot start thinking about adopting advanced solution while you don't have the basic. You have to lay out the foundations for having an ERP, having an MES is a challenge, and it is an obstacle when it comes to adopting advanced technologies such as AI and so on and so forth. So I would say these are the most important, barriers preventing factories of adopting these.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Engineer Yusuf, for sharing with that. I just wanted to share on the centers, Industry 4.0 centers that Engineer Yusuf shared on. We have these centers around the kingdom that will help SMEs before they adopt any particular technology to actually be able to use it, understand it, and be able to even some of them apply it. We have one in Kaus, King Abdullah University for Science and Technology. I had the privilege myself to establish that, and one in Kaxt, and one in also in the industrial city here in Riyadh. And I want to say, if there's any SME in our room here, please visit those centers. It's an eye opener. It will give you an opportunity to understand. If you wanted to use, for example, an additive manufacturing for your particular process, before you go buy and do a large investment, please go try and see if these centers can be able to help you. If you want to use robotics, for example, go to these centers, understand how the robotics can actually help you in a production line. So this is an opportunity. Thank you so much for this. Yes, please.
I have seen some students here, and I am encouraging even the student to register on the course. Some of them are online, some of them are on premise in second industrial.
That's amazing. Yes,
please attend.
Excellent. Thank you so much again for students and certain projects. Going back to Engineer Suhaib, how does the ministry determine whether an investment incentives are most needed, and how it is match the project and address the project gaps?
Thank you, Sami. Maybe an important thing that we always would like to highlight, that incentives itself is an industrial policy that steers the directions. This is how we view it. This is how we think of it. Now, when we look at all our incentives program, we looked at them when we assess the project, we assess them on 4 main dimensions. This is how we look at them. First thing is we want to look at the strategic relevance. So does it produce a product that is targeted in the national industrial strategy? Does it fill an industrial, of course, supply chain gap? Does it, of course, when it comes to the incentives itself, aid the sector resilience? Absolutely. That's when it comes to the strategic relevance.
So it's by design.
By design, you need to look at these things. Then, of course, when you look at the program, you look at the additionality. That's the second dimension. What does the incentives give? Does it really steer the direction? Does it really accelerate the project execution? Does it really cover a competitive gap that is inherently available within the sector itself? So this is how we look at design when we look at incentives. Then of course, when you look at government program, you always have to look at the economic impact that they're bringing to the kingdom. Of course, you're given incentives to a manufacturing facility. You look at, of course, what impact it will create on the government. This is, of course, the jobs. This is, of course, the import substitution. This is looking at the balance of payment. All these dimensions, when we assess the project, we look at these dimensions, of course.
Amazing.
Then you look at the project itself and its readiness to move ahead and the sustainability of the project moving ahead without the incentives itself. This is why in our program, for example, the Standard Incentives Program, we require that you have a 25% equity in the project. So we make sure that you have the financial capability to run it. We look at the financial capability of the investor. So we make sure that the execution of the project happens and moves ahead. When we look at the Standard Incentive Program specifically, last November, we announced that we signed with nine investors, nine projects that were targeted in the Standard Incentives Program. But when you look at the pipeline, it's more than 500.
Absolutely.
We have more than 500 across the two batches. We announced 9, and we're going to announce probably the batch 2 very soon. We have already finished assessment probably for more than, I think, 17 or 18 projects. But when you look at the pipeline, there is a potential in the pipeline that tells you that there is 24 billion that could be, of course, executed within the kingdom. But then you look at each one of them across these sectors. You wanted to see whether they will be, of course, ready to execute, whether the project will address the strategic relevance or even the economic impact that you're aspiring to have. So all what I'm saying is these are the dimensions that we look at them, but what we wanted to steer is not really spending the incentives amount, rather than, of course, enabling investment within the kingdom, create products that are not within the kingdom, create, of course, the quality of the product that are not within the kingdom, import the technology that is needed, and create, of course, jobs that is available for our young youth, of course.
Wow. Absolutely. Oh, it's an announcement. Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Mr. Saib. So I just wanted to say something that, again, there is a flexibility as well. So I remember very well going through the SIP at the beginning and batch 1. There was some policies, but the ministry, honestly, with their eye openers and understanding some of these policies that could be applied to some investors, not to others, they were listening to us. Honestly, we were giving some feedback from the ground, saying this can actually work, this doesn't work. Again, I'd like to say, if there is an investor in this room, this is a great opportunity for you.
Sami, if you allow me just to comment here, and it's important really to highlight. When we design the program and we launch it, we always look at improvement. What do we do to improve it? So the communication that is happening with the investor, honestly, enlighten us on a lot of things that we did not address initially, that we wanted to, of course, create the impact that we want to aspire to have within the kingdom. So the communication with the private sector is a continuous one, and this is what we need to have. Even the batches approach, for example, what we did after batch 2, even though we closed it, the registration still exists. So we ask investor, whoever that is interested, of course, to localize one of the product that is targeted within the program, register and have a communication with us. So you will be ahead when the next batch is, of course, announced.
Thank you so much, Mr. Saib. Gentlemen and ladies, 50 million Saudi riyal as a grant. Just think about it. This is an incentive that is available. Going back to you, Engineer Fahad, you spoke about the services. I think one of them is related to matchmaking role, and that NRDC actually. Can you explain to that and how that actually reduce the gaps for the investors?
Sure, Sami. I think the matchmaking actually, this one of the services offered by NIDC. One of the main challenges faced by any investor is uncertainty in the project development. So usually for any investor, they're looking for the right opportunity, right partner, right ecosystem. And so that's where the gaps occur and happen every time. So and this is where the value of the matchmaking will create a value, let's say, in Saudi Arabia. So in terms of the matchmaking, basically, it's not just introducing two companies to each other, rather than it's more strategic tools just to find the synergy between partners to expedite the project development and de-risk the project. See, when we talk about the matchmaking, actually, it's somehow, it can be wide advantages for matchmaking. First one, let's say, one of the matchmaking services just to identify the trusted partners. So at any stage of the project, you need a local manufacturer, a technical provider, or potential off-taker. So the role of the matchmaking will help you to identify these trusted partner, and that will help to expedite the project development from concept to implementation. It's also as the matchmaking services will help you to get access to reliable information. By matchmaking, you get in contact with the government officials, market experts, so they will verify and ensure that all the information regarding your project is validated. So you will build, let's say, better, you will have, let's say, in a better informed decision and have a strong, let's say, business case will support your investment decision. Also in terms of matchmaking, usually one of the so part of the matchmaking also the engaging with ecosystem. So basically our role in the center, basically we try to identify the role, the connection between the investor with other ecosystem. I just want to shed some light, maybe two related enablers we have it within the ecosystem actually. The first enablers is called WAFRA. WAFRA is one of the enablers within the Ministry of Industry. The role of that program is to support the investor to have access or to ensure that availability for a material for his project, but in terms of petrochemical product. The second product called the RIIW. This one is the product and under the Ministry of Industry, and that program is managed by the Ministry of Industry. They connect the local manufacturer with major demand center so that they ensure that have access or the let's say oversee the future demands in the future. So basically when we say the matchmaking, we try to see the entire and at any stages at the project, regardless at which stage, what support, what missing element that could help the investor to make the right decision and to ensure the project is implementing at the right time.
Amazing. Excellent, Engineer Fahad. A lot of investors comes to us from obviously internationally, and a lot of them will ask us, can we get a partner? Some of them ask specifically for equity partners. Some of them ask for technical partners. This is what actually Engineer Fahad was explaining. This is the role of the centers in the matchmaking, where we understand the requirement of the investors, and then based on that, we do the proper matchmaking. Now, going back again to Mr. Mohammed, now the SIDF assessed the actual project, the industrial project. Which factor most influence bankability? How do we know that this is something successful, that actually can go on and this can actually add value to the kingdom? Please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sami. Maybe this will also complement the first question.
Amazing. Yes.
When the investor should be ready to apply. So the bankability of the project is dependent on the bankability of the visibility study. And the visibility study should hold four main pillars: the market, the technical soundness, the financial capability, and sponsor capability. So for the market, the investor should identify the targeted market, the supply and demand in the market, maybe identify potential buyers as well, and ideally there will be signed offtake agreements or letter of intent that would support the project. As for the technical assumptions, so realistic capex assumptions backed by APC contracts or quotations from well-known machinery suppliers that will help us also identify the actual capex that will be spent on the project. Third part is the financial readiness. So when we look at a project as a lending institute, we also check the debt service coverage ratio, how the company will source the funding for the project. So all this will have to be there on the financial model and to assess the repayment schedule of the investor himself. Lastly, the sponsor capability. So a good management team, an identified management team with their CBs should be submitted to SIDF to help identify also the management team that will be handling the project. Lastly, so all this said, just to summarize, maybe a visibility study containing a credible sources for all the assumptions, clear capex and opex breakdowns with quotations, etc., should be submitted with an execution plan to SIDF to ease the assessment of the project and give a final decision.
Amazing. And all of this is very, very important, not just for SIDF, also for the investor, to make sure that every single dollar that was put or every single real that is put into the project is actually going to benefit the localizations on the project. The list of documentation that Mr. Mohammed has mentioned it's not a showstoppers, it's not something to make it difficult, but to make sure that this is a successful project. Now, with the time that I have in here, I'd like to give a very quick round of one synthesis, if you would like. If there is an investors, an SME, what exactly you wanted to tell them? I'll go with Engineer Fahad. Go ahead.
I think we are seeing now witnessing a transformational changes in industrial landscape in Saudi Arabia. So this, I think we are seeing now the integrated value chain between all of the sectors. I think the opportunity is there. Investor, we're looking for the investor. The ecosystem is all available here today and everywhere. Actually, we see it in every conference. So I would encourage our potential investors to start engaging with the ecosystem and get benefits of existing enablers and the opportunities and how we can support in your investment journey.
Amazing. So understand what's available there and tap into it. Mr. Mohammed.
Thank you. Just to add to what Mr. Fahad said, so the whole ecosystem is here in the forum. So each booth is there. Please go to them, ask the questions you need, get all the answer you want, and to help you apply and utilize the full ecosystem and ensure the success of your project.
Thank you so much. We're available in the showroom. Please stop by and ask us questions. We'll be more than happy. Engineer Yusuf.
So let me segregate the new investor and the existing, investor, which is in the industrial ecosystem. If you are an existing factory, do the assessment as soon as possible, understand where you are, undertake the transformation, and execute. Once you do that, you will be much better, stage than others, and you will be able to compete. If you are a new investors and approaching the NIDC and SIDF or even the standardized incentives, do not start with an old technology and thinking that it will be much costlier to undertake or to change an equipment compared to being ready at the first place.
Amazing. So do the assessment as soon as possible.
Maybe I thought I have more time, honestly, to shed some lights on some of the things that we're working on when it comes to incentives. Probably one of the main messages that I echo what my colleague has said is we need to stay engaged. We need to stay engaged, of course, with the private sectors. You need to call us. You need to register. You need to continue communicating and hearing what's coming up. Probably I'll take that advantage and share of some of the work that we're trying to do now. Which is, we talked about the standard incentives being targeting the greenfield product that are not manufactured in the kingdom. What we're trying to do now is we actually launching the brownfield one, in which it captures the capability that already exists within the kingdom. We have a product that we're already producing, yet we're still importing, yet still have a competitive advantage. And we would like, of course, to have that constant communication with the private sector to identify the opportunity. What should we target? What should we of course, focus on the future moving ahead. And our contact is here. We are here. The team is here. Even SIP has its own email, and of course, the ministry itself has its own communication channel that we receive every comments that we have from the private sector, and we're trying to enhance the programs that we have in hand and develop a new one that addresses the gaps, the needs of the investor moving ahead.
Amazing, Mehndis Suhaib. I want to please give a round of applause to my panelists. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.